We got John with me, who just is fresh off the presses of the She-Hulk episode. So, what was your quick thoughts about that before we get into it? What did you think about it? Was it good episode 2, or was it? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I thought it was very good. It was, to be honest, this is what I expected when they were marketing and promoting it. Like the sitcom aspect, they nailed that. I think they did a great job with it. I had a lot of fun. It was a good episode. There were some
Now,
questions I had, but they kind of at the end teased answers to them, so that's good.
well, let me ask you this: after seeing the second episode, now I said last week, and I know a lot of people have said the same thing. Do you think they should have released the first and second episode at the same time? Do you think we should have dropped both of them at once so we could have watched the first episode and the second episode? Because especially after seeing the second episode, and I said this if you go back and watch the VOD, I said it even before seeing the second episode, is that the first episode was so much just setup and everything we knew about the show is that, like you said, it's going to be this sitcom-y kind of show. So that first episode really didn't give us a good feel of what the show even is. But this episode lays out exactly what the show is. So I think for that little kind of fact alone, it probably would have been more beneficial to drop both. But what do you think?
Definitely. No, I definitely agree. This episode gets you into the story. This gets you, to be honest, the very first episode, the premiere episode, that could have been a standalone just one off. I mean, that thing could be self-contained. Like there was no, you don't get to the end of that and you're like, oh yeah, this is where does the story go from here? The story's kind of ended. It's really just a She-Hulk origin story. This one, you get to the end and there's clearly more to come. So yeah, I think that would have anybody that's on the fence about the show or anybody that wasn't hooked on the beginning, this one definitely gives you more of a hook, I guess, that you want to see what happens next with the various plots that are going on.
I agree with that. I think too, like, well, one thing I was kind of skeptical of, not even so much skeptical, I was just curious about how they were going to do it, was the introduction of Abomination, how that was going to fit in. And I thought the backstory and essentially his side of things was actually a very compelling argument. Like the way he laid out his case, and he's like, I was a decorated soldier. Like I took a super soldier serum. I was following orders of your government. And then I'm here now. And Hulk's looked at as some sort of hero. Like, and it's like, yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right, Emil. Like, you're 100%
Yep,
correct.
definitely. And to have an actor like Tim Roth, portray that and pull that off, he added just a little humanity to it when he's saying it. Like he was actually hurt by it. Um, those good actors that they get, they can pull that off, and I was very impressed with that. He made a lot of sense. Yeah,
He did.
very
And
valid.
also, to recap what I said on the last She Hulk discussion, what are your thoughts on my Wong starting the Thunderbolt theory now? Because I'm telling you, Tim Roth, Abomination, was sitting there talking about his 7 friends, his 7 soulmates he's gonna leave.
Soulmates.
Like, that was Thunderbolts, right? Like, that was obvious. I feel like that was a nod. It could have been a nod to Thunderbolts.
Very, very well.
There's another clip, though, that did show, like, it's from a commercial at one point. It shows Jen at his prison cell again, and in the background, you see, like, 7 women in white dresses with, like, flower things on their head. So, it literally could have just been 7 random people, and it was just a
Yeah.
complete tease, and, like, what obviously someone like Kevin Feige would know, all of us would think that they're talking about Thunderbolts because it makes perfect sense. But
Yeah.
so there is that.
Well, and the other thing I'll say about the whole Tim Roth, Abomination thing was it also lent itself to one of the funniest lines of the entire MCU saga so far, and that's Hulk going, "Boy, that was such a long time ago. That was a completely different person."
Yeah.
Literally, it's such a
No, I
great
like
line.
that. Yeah, that was great. It was very reminiscent, but even more on the nose to the introduction of, War Machine when Don Cheadle came in.
Yes.
'Cause he was like,
Yep.
"What? It's me, get over it," or whatever.
Yep.
And it was like the same kind of thing, but even better, and he's like, "Yeah, he wrote me a
Yeah.
haiku," like, that was just all that's I'm fine
Yeah.
with that.
I was a different person, literally.
Mhm. Well, that was
Oh man,
good.
so good, so good.
Well, and not to jump ahead, but I'm going to anyway just because 'cause we're talking about Hulk now. What do you think? What do you think? Some people are thinking they might be setting up like a World War Hulk situation with him flying off and at the end, and that's a car ship.
Yeah, I
What?
mean, definitely that could be their way to set that up. I mean, they kind of I not to they kind of teased or did a version of World War Hulk in Ragnarok, because when Thor finds Hulk, he's a gladiator fighting in games, which is kind of the premise of. And then this obviously is clearly Bruce deciding to go off and help them with something. So, I mean, maybe they're setting it up. Maybe they're trying to do more of a tie into that story rather than just a nod to it like they did in Ragnarok. So definitely
Yeah,
possible.
my only assumption so far with it, because World War Hulk is a very different thing than what they just set up in the show, and
Sure.
even like the Planet Hulk thing that they did in Ragnarok, completely different than what it actually is. Like we didn't have the Illuminati
Send
sending
him.
the Hulk away because he's uncontrollable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that whole, you can't really even have what that really was in the MCU as it stands now. So, I mean, they could work it in a completely different way, which is what they usually do. But my best guess is with him flying off, if they wanted to try to remotely tie any more of the Planet Hulk or World War Hulk lore into the MCU, would be that, like, maybe he has a kid. And that's what the Sakaar ship came to, like, tell him about, was that now he's gonna find out that little scars there, or maybe time passes differently there and it's an adult scar. Who the hell knows? But like that would be my best guess if it's not something that's just completely just random just to get Hulk off world for a little bit while She-Hulk can be the only Hulk on Earth right now. Because if
Yeah.
anything, that's probably the more likely situation, but I don't know. I must also note that the scene in the bar had, like, I was telling my wife about too, is like such a funny line. I don't know if you caught it since you were kind of speed watching it, but the little douchey lawyer guy here, I forget his name, but this scene is just a throwaway little line, but he's literally like, "There's a hot chick over there. I'm gonna go
We'll go
talk to
talk to
it."
it.
Yeah, it.
Yeah.
Uh, that made me
Just to
laugh.
make him even more douchey than
Yeah,
yeah, than he
that
already
made me,
was.
yeah, I, like, audibly laughed. It was such a stupid line, but, like, the dude plays this douchey dude quite well.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. He's nailed it.
he's been real good, and that line definitely helped seal the deal there. And then I don't know if you caught it or if you heard anyone talking about it, but since it should be coming up here. Yeah, did you see this? You probably didn't catch it, but I don't know if you heard any whispers about it, but if you look down here in the corner, man fights with metal claws in bar brawl. So that's an obvious Wolverine little nod there.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Good
And
catch, internet. Good
yeah,
catch.
and then there's why there is a giant statue of a man sticking out of the ocean. So it's like the first time
Eternals.
anyone's acknowledged Tiamat just sticking out of the planet. So that's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice to see they're actually commenting on that in one way or another.
Yeah, I need to real quick just say, like, I found it interesting that she was having that they played up the fact that she was having a hard time finding a job. I don't know if they felt like they needed to do that to back her into the corner of going and working for, I'm not even gonna remember all their initials, GHKL or whatever it is.
GLK and H.
GLK and H. I'm not sure if they felt like they needed to back her into the corner to get her to take that job, but I was watching her get rejected. I'm just like, really? I mean, there's gonna be plenty of law firms out there that would be like, yeah, we'll take you. Can you imagine the great publicity we're going to get by having She-Hulk as one of our attorneys? Like, I felt
Oh
like that
yeah.
was a little a little contrived that that she would have a hard time getting a job.
I also liked the fact though that like she took the job with the obvious shitty bad guy lawyer people.
Oh yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause like if it was like Charlie Cox, if it was Daredevil, it'd just be like below his moral standards. He's like, I just can't work for such a scum. You know what I mean? But like, she was just like, fuck it, I need a job.
Yeah,
Like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Like,
yeah,
so I don't think you're wrong in that showing a montage of her getting declined and rejected from all these places would have definitely, if anything, it makes like you, the audience, completely understand why someone would take the job,
yeah,
right?
sure.
Because we see that they're a bunch of scumbags, and then she obviously knows they're a bunch of scumbags, but it's been a rough time for her to get a job, so it only makes sense to take that job. But I thought it was good elsewise. I thought I didn't think the family dynamic was showcased quite as good as like Miss Marvel's family dynamic, but I still liked
Yeah,
the family. Like I thought they
yeah,
were fine. I liked the dad. The dad was good. And then interestingly enough, though, I brought this up because we were talking off stream. You thought that one of the women here was the mom from Alf, so I started cruising IMDb, and I did find this. This is a completely unrelated thing in some capacity, but the aunt who was presumably, well, I don't know, if we don't know if they have any other relatives, so this aunt is presumably Bruce Banner's mom, yet to be determined. She's just listed as like Aunt something. I forget what her name was. Um, but if you go through Aunt Rebecca, yeah, it doesn't, I don't know what or if Bruce's mom is ever named in the comics, to be honest with you. But nevertheless, I was scrolling through here to see if she was in anything Alf related. And you know what I did find? She was in Venom, Multiverse, confirmed. And then kept scrolling, only to find that she was also in Iron Man 3. So this Aunt Rebecca may be a interdimensional multiversal traveling scroll or something. I
yeah.
mean, who the hell knows? I mean, who knows? I'm sure it's nothing. It's just like an actor for hire, and she's just taking like whatever job she can get. So, but
Sure.
I thought that was quite funny. And she was also in Ozark, and so was the uh her
The mom,
actual
right?
mom in the show. Yeah, and then she was also in Stranger Things, which I thought was funny in the most recent season, the Hellfire Club episode. But yeah, potentially keep your eyes out on this Elizabeth Becca, which is also Aunt Rebecca, ironically, because she might be a scroll. She might be a scroll. We'll have to stay tuned and find out. But I think I liked the Blomsky stuff more so than I definitely thought I would. Because I just didn't know what they were going to do with him.
Yeah.
Like I assumed
It,
that he was going to take the place of Red Hulk and Thunderbolts, but how I don't know.
there's a part of me that's I think I'm still getting used to them doing a sitcom format because the actors that they have to play the parts are very sitcom-y actors. They're playing the parts just as you would expect in a sitcom. I mean, the boss, her boss at the new firm, it like they pick up the scene with him on the phone saying, let this guy know he's fired and do this other thing, like clearly just being a jerk. Or what do you say? Tell him he's going to Minnesota. He hates the Colts, so but just tell him that.
Right.
Like he's just being a jerk to be a jerk because he can because he's the boss and bosses are jerks, and so they're playing up the whole they're pl- everybody's character traits are amplified because it's a sitcom, I guess. It doesn't play as real as the MCU has up to this point, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not complaining about it. It works well. But I'm also like my brain's having there's a slight disconnect between what I'm used to in the MCU and then seeing them go over the top with some of this stuff.
I also liked the flip side of that was that when her boss, her former boss, fired her, I actually liked that he was very serious about that. Like,
True.
like he was very just like, and it made
Asked
sense.
her to become a Jim because he didn't want to.
Yeah,
He's like, we have to have a serious conversation.
yeah.
Can you go back to Jen? Yeah.
And he was just like, and it was like from the heart and it made sense. It's just like, we lost the case because of that. And it's like, you did the right thing. You definitely should have saved them, but we can't have that kind of publicity when we're trying to work our cases. Like,
This has nothing to do with anything. I just don't understand the law. Like, he said that the case was declared a mistrial. That doesn't mean the guy gets off, right? It just means they have to have another trial.
Yeah.
So I was a little like I get it. I understand what they're doing. I mean, it's a common thing that they use in lawyer related movies and TV shows where they say there's a mistrial. It's a bad thing. I understand there's a lot of work that goes into trials and prep, and then if you think the trial's going your way, you obviously don't want a mistrial. But I also felt like, oh, it was a mistrial because she saved a bunch of people. It's not like she lost the trial. She didn't lose it. You're just gonna have to try it again.
Right. Well, I guess the mindset, like, from his point of view is just like, we're gonna have to do that, but we don't
No,
wanna
I
do that with you.
Well, and
Like
the mindset is it could happen again. Like,
Yeah,
what's to say it doesn't happen again? Like, you're now a liability. And
exactly, yeah.
there are certain law firms that would see her as that, and that makes sense. So I get it. I completely get it. Again, it doesn't affect my viewing of the show or whatever. It's just a common thing they use in lawyer. I always bump up against it. Like, yeah, it's a mistrial though. She didn't lose. Like,
Right.
it's like a tie or like
Yeah,
like it didn't happen.
a draw, if anything, yeah.
The draw. Yeah.
You would think, but I guess I don't know. I don't know how it would work in that specific situation, but, I mean, I presume that is correct. They would just need to retry the case.
Yeah.
But either way, I thought it was
It
good,
was
though. There
good.
really wasn't a whole lot. I do think I still, even though this is a sitcom, I still think the shows are too short. Like, I really do. Like,
Yeah.
every time, even with WandaVision and, like, honestly, the only one that I never really felt like it was too short, ironically, was Miss Marvel. Like, I actually felt like the way they told the stories in each episode was they always came to a conclusion, and it felt it was satisfying at the end of it. But with all these other ones, I feel like everything's just starting and then the credits roll
Yeah.
every time. Besides the first episode, I thought the first episode of this, granted it was like 10 minutes longer, it came to a nice conclusion. It told the whole story and her entire origin and all that, and it set up the rest of the show to some degree, and it felt like good. It felt like, this is a natural end, this is fine. But this, it was like she just talks to Emil and walks out, and then the credits practically roll, like, shortly after
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
It's just like we didn't even get, like, her to finish the conversation with her boss. Like, you would think a more natural stop would have been her getting that phone call, seeing the clip of him in the Shang-Chi Fight Club, going back in and talking to him for 5 minutes about this, and then, like, the credits roll or something. Because then it leaves you on the cliffhanger of her and, like, finding that out or something. I don't know, it just seems like the shit ends too quickly. Like, it's just still too short. And I heard, someone else was saying, and, like, I really do feel like this is probably a little bit of the case, is that, like, even with the other, like, with Obi-Wan, it's like they wrote a movie and they shot a movie, and they're just cutting it to be a show. That's
Yeah.
what it seems like they're as opposed to writing this to actually be a TV series, because each episode should have its own little self-contained arc if it's
Storyline.
yeah,
Yep.
and, like, especially if it's a sitcom. Those were always daily episodes, serialized, like, it's just
Yeah.
you could jump in anytime. That's not how any of these ever feel like. It just seems like they're telling this big story, and they're just cutting it into spread out their content release schedule. Kind of
Yeah.
annoying, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, I still like the show so far, though.
I
But
do too. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
I think it's good. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, guys, let us know what you think about She-Hulk down in the comment section below.